there is some questions on whether there's potential for sincere, maybe leniency, or maybe getting a lighter sentence on appeal for some of these January 6 defendants. For example, starting with Biggs, who was reportedly speaking through tears about his sentence. Well, he said this in his plea to the court just before he actually got the years that the judge was giving him. My curiosity got the better of me, and I'm going to have to live with that for the rest of my life. I'm so sorry. I'm not a terrorist. I don't have hate in my heart. I don't want to hurt people. That's really interesting. I'm not a terrorist. I don't have hate in my heart. Like curiosity. I've never been curious about breaking into a federal government building and joining a mob who are trying to attack our leadership. I don't know, Jordan, have you?
No, not lately. This defense, Your Honor, I was curious, is so great. I'm dying to know if that's ever worked. The judge is seeing that like, well, okay, we've all been curious before. All right. That's so good. It's so good. I'm sorry. That just totally threw me off. I hadn't seen that yet.
No, it makes me wonder if the lawyers will actually try to coach their client on, hey, how would that sound to you as a logical person? Would you give yourself a lighter sentence because you were curious? Like, I don't know. I just feel like there's no one really in a position who would take that in any way seriously. And the second defendant who was sentenced, Rehl, well, he was also choking back tears, in the face of consequences. And he had to pause himself to compose himself. And he said he had fallen hook, line, and sinker for lies about the 2020 election being stolen. He went on to say this: politicians started spreading lies about the election. I stand up here and say I'm done with all of it. I'm done with politics. I'm done with peddling lies for other people who don't care about me. As far as I'm concerned, I think that was a better statement of truth, that you got riled up. At the same time, it's like there are a lot of lies out there. There's a bunch of propaganda. Your willingness to sign on to it and to take action against our government because of it doesn't make you a patriot, nor does it necessarily make you swindled. As an individual, you have an obligation to investigate more, to actually follow the appropriate channels before you go ahead and take action. Jordan.
I don't entirely buy that statement, though. I agree it's better than the Your Honor, I was curious attempt. But the Proud Boys knew what they were doing, and they knew what their whole organization's role in the right-wing world was. It was terror, intimidate, brute force, violence. From showing up to pride events, to left-wing events, to attacking people. They knew what their role was, and it was just to use force to try to scare, intimidate, get their way for broader right-wing objectives. And that was the case here. It's not that he was misled. I think I'm confident many of them knew that Trump lost in 2020. What he's upset about is that he thought that this was going to work. And he was misled into thinking that all they needed to do was show up and, flex their muscle and attack people, and the outcome would change. That obviously didn't happen, and that couldn't happen. All it ended up doing was getting a bunch of them thrown in jail, including these guys. That's what they're upset about. That's how they were misled. They were misled into thinking this was an effective strategy, that Mike Pence could somehow just change the result of the election. None of that was ever going to work. That was the lie. I don't think any of them really actually thought that 2020 was different. They thought this would work and they would get their way. And this is like similar to the Wisconsin stuff, right? They want to just change. They want to change the rules. They want to change the system. They want to rig it in their favor so they have power in perpetuity. And that's what they thought they were doing here. They thought they were taking a step where Republicans and Trump would just be the forever party and always have control over the federal government. And this is the way they would do that. But that was never going to work.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.